latest news blaster, the world of music, fame, and controversy has once again been shaken to its core. Sean Diddy Combs, one of the most influential names in the hip-hop industry, has been under the harsh spotlight of legal scrutiny for months. Every headline, every leak, and every testimony has added new layers to the already complicated saga surrounding him. Yet nothing could have prepared fans, critics, or even the courtroom itself for the shocking twist that unfolded during his sentencing hearing. What was expected to be a straightforward legal proceeding quickly turned into a historic moment that left even the most seasoned reporters stunned. For weeks leading up to the sentencing, speculation was rife. Would Diddy face a lengthy prison term that could tarnish his empire forever? Or would his wealth, power, and connections sway the outcome in his favor? Legal experts debated endlessly on television. Social media users argued passionately in comment sections, and fans wondered whether justice would finally be served. The atmosphere was tense, not only because of the case itself, but also because of what it symbolized: the collision between celebrity privilege and the justice system. When the courtroom doors opened on the morning of the sentencing, the scene was described as nothing short of electric. Reporters scrambled for the best vantage points, eager to capture every movement and expression. Photographers flashed their cameras as Diddy entered, dressed sharply in a dark suit, his face unreadable. Supporters whispered prayers under their breath, while critics glared with a sense of grim satisfaction. Yet beneath the surface of these visible emotions lay a shared anticipation. Something big was about to happen. The prosecution came prepared with strong arguments. They laid out the severity of Diddy's alleged actions, emphasizing the need for accountability and consequences. Their tone was sharp, their words heavy, and their determination evident. On the other side, the defense painted an entirely different picture. They spoke of Diddy's contributions to music, his philanthropy, and his role as a father. They argued that while mistakes may have been made, his life's work and character should not be overshadowed by the darkest chapters. Still, as compelling as these arguments were, the courtroom was not prepared for the curveball that would change everything. Just as the judge prepared to announce the long-awaited sentencing, a new piece of evidence surfaced, evidence that had been kept under wraps, sealed from the public eye, and even hidden from certain legal teams until that very moment. The revelation sent a ripple of shock through the courtroom. Gasps were heard, papers shuffled, and whispers erupted like wildfire. According to insiders present during the proceedings, this new evidence raised critical questions about the case. It suggested that not all facts had been presented accurately in earlier hearings. What was thought to be a closed narrative suddenly cracked open, revealing hidden details that could shift the direction entirely. Some attendees described the moment as history being rewritten in real time. The judge, visibly stunned, had to pause the proceedings and call for a recess to carefully review the unexpected material. In that brief intermission, the world outside the courtroom exploded with speculation. News outlets went live with breaking banners, commentators tried to piece together what little information they had, and fans on social media flooded timelines with theories. Some claimed it was a sign that Diddy would walk free, others argued it could mean an even harsher sentence. But the truth was far more complicated. This twist was not about freedom or punishment alone, it was about credibility, power, and the very foundations of justice. When the court reconvened, tension filled the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. The judge's expression was stern, and the weight of the moment was undeniable. The evidence, though not fully disclosed to the public at that time, had changed the trajectory of the case. What was supposed to be a final chapter in Diddy's legal saga had now opened the door to new investigations, potential retrials, and the possibility that more individuals could be implicated. For Diddy, the twist was both a curse and a lifeline. On one hand, it delayed the closure he may have wanted. On the other hand, it gave his legal team fresh grounds to argue for leniency or even dismissal. Observers noted the subtle change in his demeanor, no longer stoic but almost cautiously hopeful. For his critics, however, the moment fueled suspicions that celebrity influence had once again complicated the pursuit of justice. They saw the twist not as a revelation of truth, but as another example of how wealth and fame can bend the system. What makes this twist particularly explosive is its timing. Diddy's case had already drawn comparisons to other high-profile trials where public opinion often clashed with judicial outcomes. But the sudden emergence of hidden evidence raises deeper questions. Who was holding this information back? Why was it revealed at the last possible moment? And most importantly, how will this affect not just Diddy's fate but also the public's trust in the system? As the day ended, the judge announced that the final sentencing would be postponed. This meant more waiting, more speculation, and more uncertainty for everyone involved. But perhaps that was the only fair option in such a chaotic turn of events. The world left the courtroom with more questions than answers, and the narrative that seemed so close to being wrapped up was now wide open again. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions, fans screamed in either support or anger, and legal analysts rushed to give their takes on live television. The scene was chaotic, mirroring the uncertainty that had just unfolded inside. Diddy himself left without making a statement, escorted by his team, his face once again unreadable. Yet his silence spoke volumes. He knew the fight was far from over. In the days that followed, the shockwave of this twist spread across the globe. Social media was ablaze with hashtags, late-night hosts made it the centerpiece of their monologues, and celebrities weighed in with carefully crafted statements. Some expressed sympathy, others condemnation. But regardless of opinion, everyone agreed on one thing: the case had taken a turn no one could have predicted. The unexpected courtroom twist in Diddy's sentencing is not just about one man's fate, it is a reflection of broader issues, about power, accountability, secrecy, and the fragile balance between justice and influence. Whether this moment leads to redemption, downfall, or an even deeper scandal remains to be seen. What is certain, however, is that history will remember it as a pivotal moment in the ongoing story of Sean Diddy Combs. The postponement of the sentencing left an uneasy silence in the air. For many, it felt like the justice system had been placed on pause, dangling between two conflicting realities. One where Diddy might face the full force of the law, and another where he could walk away with minimal consequences. People began to question not only the integrity of the process but also the very meaning of accountability. In a world where fame and influence often act as shields, this was not just another celebrity scandal. It had become a cultural debate, sparking conversations about privilege, fairness, and truth in the modern era. Behind closed doors, sources revealed that Diddy's legal team worked tirelessly in the days following the twist. Meetings ran deep into the night, strategists pored over the new evidence, and phone calls to influential figures were said to be non-stop. The defense believed this was their golden ticket, their chance to rewrite the narrative that had been stacked against them. Meanwhile, the prosecution was left scrambling to address the sudden curveball. They knew the credibility of their case was on the line. If the evidence proved their earlier claims incomplete or misleading, their entire strategy could crumble like a house of cards. The identity of the person who introduced the evidence quickly became the next mystery. Rumors swirled that it came from a whistleblower, someone close to the case who had grown frustrated with the secrecy. Others speculated that a powerful figure within the industry, perhaps even a rival, had strategically timed the release to cause maximum chaos. Still, some believed it was the court itself that had withheld the information, only to reveal it when public pressure became too great. The truth behind the source remained elusive, but its impact was undeniable. As news of the twist spread, reactions from the public grew increasingly polarized. Supporters of Diddy hailed the evidence as proof that he had been unfairly targeted. They argued that the media had demonized him from the start, eager to tarnish a black mogul who had achieved extraordinary success. On the other hand, critics saw the moment as another attempt by a wealthy celebrity to escape justice. They viewed the postponement not as fairness but as delay tactics, designed to exhaust public outrage until people simply moved on. This division highlighted not just the specifics of the case but also the broader fractures within society. Adding fuel to the fire, several insiders began leaking additional claims about behind-the-scenes discussions. Some alleged that deals were being negotiated quietly, with both sides exploring possibilities that would avoid a lengthy retrial. Others suggested that prosecutors were under immense pressure from higher authorities to ensure the case did not collapse completely. Whether these claims were true or exaggerated, they deepened the sense of intrigue. The story was no longer just about what had happened inside the courtroom. It was about the hidden chess game unfolding beyond the public's eye. The entertainment industry, too, could not remain silent. Fellow artists, producers, and collaborators began speaking out, though most did so carefully, knowing the sensitivity of the situation. A few praised Diddy's legacy, emphasizing the positive impact he had on music and culture. Others, however, distanced themselves, fearful that association with his name could damage their own reputations. This split revealed the precarious position of celebrities when one of their own faces scandal. Loyalty clashes with self-preservation, and silence often speaks louder than words. Amid all this chaos, Diddy himself became the central enigma. Rarely speaking publicly, he communicated only through brief statements from his lawyers or vague social media posts. Fans searched his expressions for meaning, dissecting every photo, every movement, every word. Was he confident? Was he broken? Was he plotting a comeback? Nobody knew for sure, but the mystery only added to the fascination. After decades of dominating headlines with music, business ventures, and extravagant lifestyle, Diddy now held the world's attention for reasons he likely never imagined. The legal experts who once predicted an easy sentencing suddenly found themselves re-evaluating everything. Television panels that had confidently declared the outcome days earlier now backtracked, filling airtime with speculation instead of certainty. Some argued the twist was a deliberate tactic by the defense, designed to unsettle the prosecution. Others suggested it could lead to an appeal, dragging the case out for years. The most cautious voices admitted the truth: nobody could predict what would happen next. Meanwhile, ordinary fans struggled with their own emotions. Many grew up idolizing Diddy, seeing him as a symbol of ambition and perseverance. His music had been the soundtrack of their lives, his success a reminder that dreams could come true. To watch him face potential downfall was heartbreaking. Yet for others, the allegations were too serious to ignore. They believed no amount of fame or nostalgia should excuse accountability. This tug-of-war between admiration and anger mirrored the larger cultural struggle between celebrity worship and the demand for justice. What made this moment even more powerful was its timing in history. Society is more connected than ever, and the speed at which news travels leaves no room for secrecy. Within minutes of the courtroom twist, hashtags trended worldwide, memes flooded the internet, and influencers built entire platforms around analyzing the case. Unlike past decades, where legal proceedings could unfold quietly, Diddy's saga was being lived out in real time by millions of people across the globe. This transformed the case into not just a legal drama, but a global phenomenon. Behind the noise, however, the human element remained. Families of those allegedly affected by Diddy's actions watched the developments with heavy hearts. For them, this was not entertainment but deeply personal. The postponement of sentencing meant postponement of closure. It meant reliving the pain for weeks or months longer. Their voices, often overshadowed by celebrity coverage, quietly reminded the world that real lives were entangled in this drama. For the judge presiding over the case, the twist presented a dilemma of extraordinary magnitude. To proceed with sentencing without fully considering the evidence would risk accusations of injustice. To delay it, however, meant prolonging uncertainty and inviting criticism. The responsibility was immense. Every decision carried consequences not only for Diddy but also for the credibility of the court itself. Legal historians will likely study this case for years, using it as an example of how unforeseen evidence can destabilize even the most carefully planned proceedings. In the broader scope of his career, this courtroom twist may represent a defining moment for Diddy. Throughout his life, he has navigated controversies, lawsuits, feuds, rumors, but always emerged with his empire intact. This time feels different. The stakes are higher, the scrutiny more intense, and the consequences potentially irreversible. Whether he ultimately prevails or falls, this chapter will forever reshape how the world remembers him. As more details trickled out about the nature of the evidence, speculation intensified. Some insiders hinted it involved financial records that challenged previous claims. Others whispered about witness testimony that contradicted earlier narratives. Still, the lack of official confirmation meant everything remained uncertain. In this uncertainty, imagination thrived, with theories ranging from the plausible to the outrageous. Each theory, regardless of truth, added another layer to the growing myth around the case. Perhaps the most telling reaction came not from fans or celebrities, but from communities historically skeptical of the justice system. For many, the twist reinforced the belief that justice is not blind. It is influenced by power, money, and influence. The idea that a celebrity could avoid sentencing through sudden evidence confirmed long-held suspicions. For these communities, the case was more than a legal battle. It was a symbol of a system they felt had never been truly fair. Yet there were also those who saw hope in the twist. If evidence could surface so unexpectedly, perhaps it meant truth could still prevail, even against overwhelming narratives. They argued that while delays were frustrating, transparency mattered more than speed. In their view, the postponement was a sign that the system, though flawed, was at least willing to reconsider. This clash of interpretations revealed a deeper truth. People were projecting their own beliefs, fears, and hopes onto the case, making it a mirror of society itself. By the end of the week, one thing was clear. The unexpected courtroom twist had transformed the Diddy sentencing into more than just a trial. It had become a spectacle, a cultural moment, and perhaps even a turning point.